Urban explorer Robert from the YouTube channel Sidestep Adventures, along with his friend Dan, set out to investigate an abandoned house in the wooded vicinity near Waverly Hall, Georgia. Dan estimates the construction or reconstruction of the house to have occurred in the early 1900s, with abandonment taking place sometime in the 1960s. Locals refer to this house as the Old Willis Place, named after its former resident, Mr. Willis, who likely both lived and died there. In their quest to determine the house's actual age, Robert and Dan meticulously inspect the interior, exterior, and foundation of the structure. They notice an older-style chimney that appears to predate the house, suggesting an early 1900s origin.
Because that looks like doesn't that look like an early settlement style chimney there?
It does.
What's interesting is the chimney looks like an older style than the house looks. At least we didn't find somebody waiting for us in the chair here, Dan.
Not in the chair. Maybe up there.
Yeah, I saw that, the attic.
There's a child's spoon.
Oh, that's cool. How old do you reckon that is?
That's old. It's not silver, it's brass, silver plated.
Wow. Look at that.
Petrified.
Yeah, it is just about petrified, ain't it?
Sure is.
Looks like it was cut down, I guess, with an axe. Let me set the light down. I'm gonna touch it. This is an old tree right here. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Their examination is interrupted by an eerie and unexplained noise, causing them to briefly retreat from the house.
One section of this house is older than the other.
Yep.
So, at one point, either this was a one-room house, or it was a two-room house with a dog trot the whole way down the middle.
So that's a 1958 Coke bottle, right? What is that? Oh, that's weird. Here. That is strange. You heard that, right, Dan?
Yes, I did.
That was weird. All right, that's enough of this old house for a minute. We're gonna go look at something else. All right, well, we're gonna go ahead and get out of here. So I hope you guys have...
Continuing their exploration beneath the house, they hear disconcerting footsteps from the floor above.
What is that?
They swiftly crawl out from inside the house, but it appears that no one is there. As they record their video outro, a loud bang emanates from the Old Willis Place, further unsettling the explorers.
All right, well, we're gonna go ahead and get out of here. So I hope you guys have...
These inexplicable occurrences leave Robert and Dan spooked, and they decide to leave the site. Could the strange occurrences at the Old Willis Place be evidence of the lingering presence of Mr. Willis, or is there another explanation for the unexplained phenomena? On March 23, 2023, in Oregon, a motorcyclist named Eden was recording footage of an off-road trail when something entirely unexpected occurred. Eden, who had visited this location before, was feeling uneasy this time. He couldn't shake the sensation that something about this path was markedly different. It wasn't until he traveled further ahead that something rather eerie was captured on film.
Kind of creepy. Go this way. This is where most people would turn around. If you turn around, you never get to see what's on the other side. That's where all the gold is waiting over there. Could be missing out what's on the other side.
The sound of someone or something approaching Eden could be heard nearby. While it might have been a bobcat heading his way, the pile of animal bones in the area suggested it was its lair. Despite this, Eden couldn't help but sense that something else was lurking nearby. Fearing for his safety, he promptly turned around and headed home. Months later, Eden returned to the spot, but this time, something occurred that terrified him to his core. Check it out.
Oh god, bones are still here. I don't like this at all. Oh god, there's even more bones than last time. It's been a few months since I filmed the last video, because honestly I've just been too scared to come up here. Definitely a lot more overgrown than last time. I'm hoping that since it's been such a long time that I don't think anything will happen this time. I think that tree is actually gone. This road's been cleared. Looks like we've already passed it a while ago, but that tree is gone. Oh! It's just dark as hell in here. I'm probably gonna turn around soon. Oh, there's two ways. Holy crap, dude, this trail goes on forever. It just got really quiet really fast. That was my cue to leave.
The woods suddenly fell into an eerie silence, resembling a scene from a horror movie. During this strange stillness, Eden noticed a tall, pale figure emerging from the bushes. On closer examination, the figure appeared to be crouching and moving slowly, as if stalking its prey. Terrified beyond belief, Eden started his bike while trying to catch his breath, but to add to the tension, the bike initially wouldn't start. Eventually it did, and Eden sped away to ensure his safety. Eden remains unsure of what this entity might have been, but some viewers believe it could have been a skinwalker or some sort of supernatural being. Regardless, this video serves as a reminder that certain places should not be further explored. Late at night, a lone man cautiously steps into a deserted house. He's extra careful, moving as if he's on high alert. The reason for his unease is simple. This house has a spooky history. The local authorities have banned anyone from entering, and there's a good reason behind it. It all ties back to an elderly man who used to live there. He lived alone in this massive, mysterious house, and that's just the beginning of the weirdness. After the old man's passing, the strange events began. People in the neighborhood claim they've seen shadowy figures lurking near the second-floor windows. Even more unsettling, they've heard the sound of children laughing in the dead of night. With all this spooky information in mind, the man treads carefully through the house. He's fully expecting something strange to happen, and boy, does it. Out of nowhere, a little golden statue topples over. He pauses, trying to make sense of it, but he can't find any logical explanation. The statue just fell all by itself. It's creepy, for sure, but what comes next takes the cake. Undeterred by the statue incident, the man decides to explore the second floor. He sets up another camera to capture the area from a different angle. And that's when things get really eerie. In just a few frames of the footage, you can see a small, shadowy figure standing against one of the walls. He didn't notice this figure at the time, but if he had, he probably would have sprinted out of there. Whatever this thing was, it clearly freaked him out. But the really chilling stuff happens next. As he continues his exploration, he stumbles upon a few rooms that are strangely locked, and he manages to capture what happens next on video. The door to one of the locked rooms suddenly swings open on its own, already a spooky event. But what's truly hair-raising is that the door slams shut as soon as he enters the room, locking him inside. Pure panic sets in as he rushes to the door, realizing it's stuck. But then, in a bizarre twist, the door suddenly unlocks, allowing him to escape in a state of sheer terror. He sprints away, but the camera stops recording shortly after. Right before the video ends, it captures something bone-chilling. As the camera pans toward the room he just escaped, you see a shadowy figure inside. It's like the figure is standing there watching the man run away. Knowing that something like that was in the room with him has left him deeply unsettled. We don't know exactly what happened after he left, but one thing is certain. He won't be going back to that house anytime soon. That night was full of inexplicable, spine-tingling events that will haunt him for a long time to come. In this video, we see a man named Win going about his daily chores, washing dishes in the kitchen. However, his routine takes an eerie turn when he suddenly hears a strange noise emanating from his basement. Win explains that his family avoids the basement at all costs because there's something about it that just doesn't feel right. Win shares a perplexing incident that occurred not too long ago in this basement. He was alone down there when a small swing he had recently purchased began to sway on its own, seemingly defying all logic and explanation. This was bizarre, but it was just the beginning of a series of unsettling events.
Things have kind of been picking up. I'm not going back there. Hello? Who are you? Get the hell out of here.
Days later, while Win was at home with his son, a loud banging noise suddenly echoed from the basement door. Alarmed, he rushed to check who or what was causing the commotion, only to find nobody there.
Can you get it?
This occurrence left his family utterly terrified. In a new video clip, we see Win washing dishes in the kitchen once more, but this time, his dog starts barking at the basement door.
Lie down. Stay. Been doing this all morning and I don't have time for this today. Stop. Hey buddy. I got too much going on. You gotta cut it out. Oh shit. Okay. I'm just gonna set it up. Get the towels and we'll just let the phone roll. I asked you if you gotta go or you gotta go downstairs or something. Wherever you're gonna go, you gotta go. Calm down. He's okay. Please, not today. Just, holy cow.
Win, seemingly irritated with the supposed spirit or entity responsible, sets his phone on the counter to continue recording the bizarre happenings. As he pleads for the strange occurrences to stop, the basement door continues to open on its own, further deepening the mystery. To his shock, Win spots a shadowy figure within the doorway, seemingly emerging from the darkness, then fading away before reappearing as a giant, unsettling shadow. This spine-chilling encounter leaves Win absolutely certain that he won't be venturing into the basement anytime soon. The video raises more questions than it answers, and until further footage or evidence is presented, the true nature of these mysterious events remains a puzzle. Afnan Rash, residing in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, believes something strange has taken over his home. He claims this powerful entity is growing stronger with each passing day.
Wow, rentak balik
Afnan initially suspected a family prank, but upon yanking the curtain back, he found no one. Soon, his house became a hub for bizarre paranormal activities. His son's toys in the living room moved on their own, accompanied by eerie banging sounds from above.
Aku dah kata dah, macam nyek. Monyet. Apa benda pula ni? Nama kaki ke?
Afnan started to wonder if this entity was trying to mimic a child, and to his horror, it seemed to focus on his young son.
Dubis, kenapa Dubis selalu main dengan dia tu? Hah?
Kalau Papa nak tahu, Papa bukan dia. Papa Dubis main dengan siapa tu?
Emily pergi masuk bilik. Pergi masuk bilik dulu. Assalamualaikum. Dubis. Dubis. Masuk. Dubis. Kenapa Dubis selalu main dengan dia tu? Hah?
Kalau Papa nak tahu, Papa bukan dia.
things took an even more frightening turn when Afnan noticed his son playing with an invisible entity.
Assalamualaikum.
Then, one night, the entity revealed its true form, a dark, long-haired figure lurking behind the fridge. But every time Afnan tried to investigate, it disappeared, only to reappear right in front of him. Regardless of whether you believe these events are real, the videos documenting them are undeniably spine-chilling, making Afnan's claims all the more unsettling. In the following video, you'll witness a father, Ricky Beadle, who recorded something quite unsettling while keeping an eye on his son. It all unfolded one afternoon as Ricky was passing by his son's room and heard the boy talking to himself in hushed tones. At first, it was incomprehensible muttering, but as Ricky leaned in, he could discern a few words. Strangely, the speech resembled a conversation with an invisible presence, as if someone else was in the room with his son. The video Ricky captured is undeniably eerie.
Elliot, what are you doing? Oh, that's cool. What's that? What's that in the corner?
The man hanging.
Oh, why have you drawn that?
Because the man is hanging up there.
Oh, really? What does he do?
He annoys me at night.
Why?
Because he does this.
Oh, really?
But I'm not allowed to tell anybody.
Okay.
And if that weren't creepy enough, there's another layer to this story. Ricky's son showed him his drawing of someone that only the boy could see. Chillingly, the supposed figure appeared to be hanging by a noose wrapped around their neck. Ricky aimed the camera at the so-called hanging man, and though his son was convinced of its existence, it remained invisible to Ricky's lens. Adding to the mystery, Ricky's child was strangely forbidden from discussing this apparition. Initially unsure about the situation, Ricky only became truly concerned after the following incident. Once again, Ricky overheard his son conversing with an unseen entity, prompting him to grab his phone and document the encounter.
Stop it.
Elliot, what are you doing?
I see the man hanging.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Right.
He's crying. I keep saying stop it.
Is he crying?
Yeah.
So this is the photo of the hanging man he's seen in the corner of his room. I'm going to ask him to draw it again when I've rubbed it completely off. Elliot, can you draw the hanging man for me, like you did before?
No, because he'll tell me off at night.
What if I don't let him? What if you can sleep in my room? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Right, so what's these on his face?
Tears.
What's this?
String.
Oh, okay. Does he cry quite a lot?
Yeah, because he's got hair fever up there and he's up there.
Okay.
In the corner.
Okay, thank you.
But he knows me at the night that he keeps saying he always bangs on because
Okay.
At this point, Ricky couldn't help but wonder if his son was seeing things. However, Ricky remained uncertain whether this was a product of his son's vivid imagination or a manifestation of a potential mental illness. To get some clarity, he decided to set up a camera in his son's room, hoping that the footage would offer insight. What he captured in the following recording was nothing short of shocking. Elliot, the son, appeared to be engaged in a conversation with an unseen presence when suddenly his legs were violently yanked off the bed. In a state of disbelief, Elliot leaped out of bed and hurried out of the room as if someone or something had tried to harm him by tugging on his legs. It was at this point that Ricky became convinced that something was haunting his son. Viewers, too, were left with a sense of the supernatural. Still, the question remains, is Elliot truly haunted by a sinister entity, or is there another explanation for these bizarre occurrences? As you watch the footage and consider the evidence, I invite you to formulate your own conclusions. What do you think is happening to Elliot? And is there a rational explanation for these unsettling events? The RC Fun TV2 paranormal investigation team known as Edge Cambodian embarked on a spooky adventure to a place by the river that locals claim is haunted. Stories circulate about unfortunate incidents that occurred right at the river's edge. One tale speaks of a young boy swept away in a mudslide, meeting a tragic end in the flood. Another recounts a man taking his own life at the river's edge, adding to the sorrowful history. The graves of several children are said to be nestled along the riverbank, amplifying the area's grim reputation. In their quest to connect with any lingering spirits, the RC Fun TV team left offerings and said prayers. Shortly afterward, they caught something bone-chilling.
Được rồi không? Được đấy. Đang lên mà được. Xe lưu điện.
They spotted a figure by the river, a man, but something seemed off. The stranger was unusually pale with a face that defied recognition. As they approached, attempting to unveil the mystery, the figure vanished underwater, leaving no trace behind. The RC Fun TV team wonders if they witnessed the spirit of the man who took his own life, or perhaps the boy who drowned in the flood. The question lingers, is it genuine, or could it be an elaborate hoax? The answer is left to your judgment.